The Sheffield Steelers returned to Sheffield on Sunday following a 1-0 defeat at the hands of the Nottingham Panthers 24 hours earlier. The Hull Stingrays were in town for a most important Challenge Cup game. Remember that only a victory would ensure that semi-final qualification would remain in the Steelers' own hands. Sheffield got off to the best possible start in the 13th minute as Hewitt and Finnerty combined. Keep your eyes on Cole King. He'll drive the net, and at first it looks like King gets the final touch. Perhaps he does just before it gets to Boucher. We'll see a couple of replays of that one. Nothing Boucher could do about it as the Steelers got off to the perfect start. Great work from Finnerty. Took a deflection just before he got to Boucher, and then just rebound and bobbled, and King got that final touch. The Steelers led by 1-0, the only goal of the first period. Into the second session, and the Steelers were to double their advantage. A great solo effort coming here from R.G. Flath. He was, of course, to go on and win the Steelers Man of the Match award, 25-36, and it looks also comfortable at that moment for Ryan Finnerty's side. Another view of a great finish from Flath as he goes over the shoulder of Boucher, and the Sheffield Steelers led by 2-0. As I say, all looking comfortable until this moment, right at the end of the second period. Was it kicked in? Wasn't it kicked in by Andrew McKinney? Well, those of us there couldn't really tell. Stevenson and Finnerty thought it was kicked in. Let's just keep an eye on this one. Nothing really conclusive on the video, is there? 2-1 end of the second, 2-1 end of the third. The Sheffield Steelers with 2 valuable Challenge Cup points. Here is the most honest interview you're ever likely to hear with the Steelers coach, Ryan Finnerty. We'll talk about the weekend in a moment overall, but talk us through this game on Sunday night. It was an important victory, keeps us in the Challenge Cup.
Yeah, I mean, it was all about the 2 points. They're out of it, and you don't know what you're going to get from them. I mean, they don't have a whole lot to play for in these games, and it was their 4th one in a row too. So, but credit to them, they came out, they played hard, they never stopped working. It could have gone either way, but at the end of the day, it's all about getting the 2 points and staying alive in the competition.
Went 2-0 up and looked fairly comfortable. Bit of a controversial comeback goal for the Hull Stingrays. I know yourself and Matt were convinced it was kicked in. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty clear kicking motion, and I don't think Willie had a good angle on it. And, and that's the way it happens, and you got to move on, and, you hope the linesman would catch it from the back post, but didn't. So, yeah, 2-1 up, and, we were 2-1 going into the third, and, we just said we got to win no matter what. A tie doesn't even help us, and it's scary when you can't even, you got a 1-goal cushion, and you need to win. You can't tie, because a tie basically puts us out too. So, I thought the guys played well. I mean, we only conceded 2 goals over the weekend. We only scored 2. But like I said, the Challenge Cup was all about staying alive.
Let's flip back 24 hours, that night in Nottingham. I know when I spoke to you, you were pleased with the performance. Obviously not the result, but a much better performance in Nottingham.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of positives and a lot of negatives. And like I said, for me, it was definitely a learning curve. I felt that I didn't control the bench well enough. I let my emotions get the best of me, and when I was a player that was okay, but now as a coach I felt the second period we lost the plot a bit. Obviously, I don't want to say we were undisciplined, but we took bad penalties. I led the charge there, and it starts from the top, and I felt I let the guys down, and it's a pretty big pill to swallow when you feel you let your troops down, and especially when you're hard on them to do the work. And like I said, it was a pretty quiet bus ride home. We had a meeting when we got home. Obviously, I felt I needed to apologize to my team, because at the end of the day, I harp on them all day long to do the little things, and if I'm not doing it, then I can't look at myself in the mirror. So it was a bit of a learning lesson, but at the end of the day, cutting out all the negative stuff, I thought we played well. I thought, despite the penalties and despite being shorthanded for a lot of the game, we took it to them, and we deserved better. One of the guys said, it felt like we were the Nottingham Panthers last night. And to be honest, for me, there's not a bigger insult. And that hits home when your bench is losing it, and so many times we've looked across at them, chasing the ref around, and that was us last night, and that's my fault. I can't blame any of the guys. That solely falls on me. And like I said, it's a lesson learned. Won't happen again, basically, is what our meeting was about here after we got home from Nottingham. We sat down and we aired it out, and I think the guys responded tonight. I think I think we, I think we played well, a little bit better, but I think our bench control is a lot better. And these are things that I need to learn. And if it happens once, then we just can't allow it to happen again.
In the Challenge Cup, there was a bit of a gap between the Steelers and the Panthers. Do you feel that gap has closed?
Yeah, I think so. I think for us, we just got to win out.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't have a tie option. We got to win. And you know what? It's good because it's do or die hockey for us, and it's the way that it's going to come down in the league. It's going to come down to do or die hockey. In playoffs, it's do or die hockey. So for us, chasing these 3 games, and it's a good baseboard for what's to come down the road when we need to grind out wins when we're challenging for top place, because that's where we want to be at the end of the year.
Is there any concern that we only scored 2 goals in a weekend? Is that something that kind of niggles you where the goals are coming from?
Yeah, we haven't had any problems with goal production, and whether it was whether it was just a weekend where we couldn't score and we weren't firing, and we had tons of chances, and that's the thing, and we're getting chances. I think I'd be more concerned if we weren't getting chances, and on the flip side of that, we only conceded 2. So yeah, but we changed the lines a bit today to see if we can freshen things up. And like I said, I think we had some chances. Boucher played well again. Obviously, Kowalski played really well last night, and credit to those guys. But I'm not concerned about the goal production, and I'm not concerned about our team, because I think we learn a lot more from the losses than we do from the wins. I can assure you that. And I definitely, I learned a definite life lesson last night and took it on the chin. And when you play on the edge, that happens, and that'll happen. And I think we're the kind of team that takes something like that and we learn it once and we move on. We're a pretty proud hockey club here, and I think the way that we need to perform is the way we played in Coventry, the way a gritty, hardworking team doesn't give a lot of time and space. We got good speed, and I think the guys are buying into that. I think I have a lot more confidence in my team now than I did before, and like we said, we don't want to challenge for things. We want things this year. We want the 3 trophies. I think a lot of people just said that we'd be happy to be in contention, but in that room we're not. We believe in ourselves, and I think we, like I said, we're going for the 3 trophies, and we want to be top of the table. And guys are already talking about next weekend, and I think it's good when we're hungry to get back playing. So we'll, but it's easy to talk, and you got to put those words in action. And I think, like I said, I think we learned a hard lesson in Nottingham. I think on any other night we could have won, but like I said, we're going to take all the negatives and turn them into positives.